Okay, today's daf. Today we begin Be'ez Hashem Masechta Sanhedrin, and if you, I think this is one of the longer Masechtas and Shas word wise. Daf wise, Baba Basra was the longest, but word wise, these pages are quite long, and so it's a long Masechta, but it includes, I think, 25% of it is Agadata Gemara, and it includes a lot of parts of Shas. And so even on the first page, it's just one Mishnah. So all one Mishnah with touching on every point in Shas. So Sanhedrin is, as you can see, it talks about the courts, and Sanhedrin comes from the word Senate. Sanhedrin, Senate could be, and that's probably a Roman word for a court, and it comes after the Masechtas that we learned about Nezikin. How do we implement judgment? And that's what this Masechta is discussing. So let us begin. Okay, so the Mishnah begins, Dine Mamanis B'Shleisha. So the amount, how many dayanim do you have when you a civil case? Now a mammon case means that you're taking somebody to court because you lent him money, and now he's denying he ever loaned the money from you. So that is shloisha. That you need three dayanim. So three dayanim can decide that case. Now we're going to learn in the Gemara. That doesn't mean, according to one opinion, if that's the translation of dine mamamis, then shloisha means regular people, regular people. Because normally what you're going to see in this Mishnah is that it's not regular people. It's not like three people who went to yeshiva. It's smuchen. You know what smuchen is? You got the license, the special license to be a dayan, and that existed only until hi. We just began Masechtas Sanhedrin. So, and there was another, most of the dayanim that we're learning about is dayanim that are smuchen, or in the Gemara's language, it's called mumchen, which means that they have the special license from dating back from Moshe Rabbeinu. So each Moshe Rabbeinu made smuchen, and they were masmich other people, and that chain went on till the time of the Amoraim. Uh, so. So that's what the Mishnah is discussing: is dine momnes b'shloisha, gezelas v'chavolos, stealing. The concepts, anything to do with stealing. Let's say you deposited a watch with somebody, and now he denies that you ever deposited. So three people could adjudicate that case. Again, here it's smuchen. V'chavolos. Chavolos means if you damage somebody. If you punched him or something like that, and we always know you have to pay nezek, tsar, ripui, sheves, and boishes, those five things. So therefore, you need three people, three judges to adjudicate the case. Nezek, nezek is the same thing. So here, nezek means that shor, an ox that did shar muad, a wild ox that damaged before. So it damages, so that Sharmud pays 100%. But Chatzi Nezek, we learned this in Masechta Baba Kama. Chatzi Nezek is you pay half of the damages, which is a shortam. Tashlumei kefil v'tashlumei abar chamisha. You're familiar with the ganif that he has to pay double, and sometimes he has to pay four or five, depending. If he stole an ox, a sheep, then and he slaughtered it, he would have to pay four times, four sheeps. If he stole an ox and slaughtered it, he have to pay five. So all these types of cases, bishloisha, have to be adjudicated with three people. Musmachim. Ha'ainis, someone who was ma'anis, raped a nara. So the Torah tells you you have to pay 50 kesef to the father of the nara. V'hamafata, someone who seduced a nara basula. So again, Oinis, you have to marry her even if you don't want to. Mafata, either you have to marry her if they want her. If you marry her, you don't have to pay the knas. But if you don't marry her, you have to pay 50 kesef to the father. V'hamoitzi Shem Ra, and the concept of a moitzi Shem Ra, where here, if someone marries a Nara Basula and he wakes up and goes to chuppah, and then he says, "Oh, oh, I didn't find basulim. I didn't find dam basulim. I didn't find any blood. So she must have been mizana from the time I gave her kedushin till the time I went to chuppah, and therefore I don't want to pay." The husband says, "I don't want to pay the ksuba." So who judiates that case? Bishloisha. Then you need three people. Divrei Rabbeinu, three dayanim. V'chachama maimrim, moitzi shemra, the esr mishloisha. Moitzi shemra, you need 23 dayanim. Mipnei, sheyesh ba dinei nefashis, because it could lead to the death penalty for the girl. If indeed they investigate the matter further, that the husband says, "I don't have basulim," so we would believe him, and he doesn't have to pay the ksuba. But that causes us to start investigating the matter. And how did she not have basulim? She was a basula. It must be she was mizana, and then we find witnesses that she did indeed have an adulterous relationship. She could get the death penalty. So therefore, the whole concept of Moisi Shemra, according to the Chachamim, need 23 dayanim. Now the Mishnah says Malkus. To give someone Malkus, Bishloisha, you need three people. Again, three Dayanim can decide if someone ate, let's say, a Nevela, a Chazer, and he was on purpose, so then they would give, the Bezdin could give Malkus. Now again, the reason why we don't give Malkus today is because we don't have Smuchen. We have dayanim that know how to learn, but they're not real. They don't have that real license from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Shmuel says be'esr mishloisha, to give malchus you need a court of 23 judges. So he equates malchus to the death penalty. When you're giving somebody the death penalty, you need 23 judges. Ibra chodesh, to increase, to decide kiddush a chodesh, let's say. So to decide that a chodesh is 30 days, it was 29 days, and the 30th day is Rosh Chodesh. Bishloisha, you need three dayanim. One of these three dayanim are not just any three dayanim, and they're not just musmachim. They actually have to be part of the 72 that are in the Sanhedrin, because in order to make anything to do with the calendar, you need to be part of the Supreme Court. But you don't need everyone in the Supreme Court to do it. You could have just three of the Supreme Court. Iber Ashana, to make another Chodesh Adar, let's say to add a month to the year, Bishloisha Divrei Rameir. Rameir holds three dayanim is good enough. Again, from the Sanhedrin. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel b'shloisha maschilim. Three start. In other words, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel disagrees. He says to investigate whether we should make it a Iber Yar, to add an extra month. We start investigating the matter with three dayanim. Then, once they agree to that in concept, we should make another Chodesh Adar. Then they go back and forth in the halacha of whether it should be done or not should be done. Then the goimrim, they actually complete it b'shiva. They add two more dayanim to decide if we're going to make a iber yar, to add a new kodesh. So in order to decide that maybe there's a possibility that we should, three people need to work that out. Then to go back and forth whether it makes sense to do so in halacha, they come to that conclusion with five. And the ones that announce it to make it final, that you need seven dayanim. In Gomer Begimel, but if they b'diavad did the whole thing with three dayanim, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel in concept agrees with Rabbi Meir that three is enough. Smichas Zakenim v'arifas aglo. We're going to see all these things in the Gemara, but basically Smichas Zakenim, to Rashi says, put the soimech to give smicha on a par helam davar shel tziba. We'll discuss that. Or you could also mean smicha zakenim, to give smicha to somebody, to transmit that link to somebody else to become a dayan. Varifas egla, to do the egla rufa. We're going to learn more about that. B'shloishi, you need three dayanim. Divrei Reb Shimon. B'Yehuda b'chamisha, you need five dayanim. Hachalitza v'hameunim b'shloisha. To witness a chalitza, you need three dayanim. V'hamei'umin, we know what that is when a girl got married because her father died and her mother married her off as a katana. Her mother married her off, let's say, as a 7-year-old, just to get her off the streets because she has no father to watch over her. And then she decides after, a couple of years, she doesn't want to remain with this guy that she was set up with, so she could mi'un. She can say, I refuse to remain in this marriage, and she abolishes the marriages without even a get. So this was because the whole thing was anyway midrabanan. So b'shloish you need three dayanim. Okay, so because they're very similar, chalitza and miyun, which is done verbally. So therefore, you need three dayanim. Neter Ravai and Maisha Sheni, the fruits of Neter Ravai and Maisha Sheni, she'ain dam of Yadum, that you don't know, let's say you have fruits and you don't know what the value of those fruits is, but you want to transfer the kedusha of that fruits onto money. So b'shloisha is three dayanim. Hekdashis b'shloisha. Again, to transfer the kedushim from a hegdish to, let's say, an item to redeem hegdish. You want to redeem something that's hegdish onto money or something like that. So you need three dayanim to decide the value, right? Because that's the point of having this dayanim. If I know what things are worth, I don't need dayanim. It's to determine I'm not ripping hegdish off. You need three dayanim to assess what the value of the item that I want to redeem. Ha'erechen ha'metaltalim b'shloisha. Let someone says erech alai. He says erechen alai. We're going to learn about that. He's like consecrating the value of himself to Bezdin, to Hegdish, to the base of Migdash, and let's say he has no money to pay. So to confiscate his movable assets and to evaluate his movable assets so Hegdish can get paid out, b'shloisha, you need three dayanim. Rabbi Yehuda says, Echad mehem kohen. One of them has to be a kohen of the three. Because anything to do with Erechin, you have to have one of them as a kohen. Ba'akakois, if you're evaluating land of Hegdish, right? So you need a Tisha v'kohen. In other words, 9 of them could be regular dayanim, and one of them, the 10th one, is to be a kohen. So let's say someone was magdish a field and he wants to now redeem it. So then it's not enough to have three. Three is enough if you were magdish, let's say, your cufflinks. So then to determine what it's worth, then you need three. When it comes to real estate, if you were magdish real estate and now you want to redeem it, you need 10 people. But one of them has to be a kohen. V'odam keyotzebehem. And the same thing, if someone was magdish a person, a human being, and now he wants to redeem that human being, so then you need 10 people. And we're going to learn more about that because that doesn't make too much sense. How could you be magdish a person? You could be magdish a land. You could be magdish a movable item. Dine nefashis. So dine nefashis, to kill somebody. Let's say he was mechal or Shabbos, be'esr mishloisha, then you need 23 dayah. Here comes something interesting, which is an animal that did an avera, an animal that had relations with a human being, either as the male, haroiva, vahanirba, or it was the female. Either way, these animals, you have to kill these animals. So, but you just don't kill the animal and shoot it. You have to have a whole court case. How many people, how many dayanim have to be at that court case? You need 23. The Pusik says, you kill the woman and the animal that she did znus with, and you kill the animal. So the Torah compared the way you kill a human being. So the Torah is comparing the way an animal should be killed. That means it has to have 23 dayanim. Shar haniskal. Let's say the shar that's going to be stoned to death. Why would a shar be stoned to death? Because it killed another human being. So b'esr mishloisha, you bring the ox to the bezdin. Imagine an ox sitting in the court, and you have 23 dayanim deciding, should we kill this ox? Shenema, the pasuk says, Hashor yisakel, you kill the ox, Megamba olav yumas, and then the owner should die. It doesn't mean the owner should pay money for the death that his ox caused. Kemisas habalim kach misas shar. The way you kill the owner, that's the way you would kill the ox. Just like the owner is killed, the capital punishments is 23. So also killing the ox is also, you need 23 dayanim. Haze'ev ari, it's not just an ox that kills. What happens is Ev, Ari, Adoy, Vahanomer. You have a pet wolf or a lion or bear or leopard, Vabardalis, or a hyena, Vahanochash, a snake. Someone has any of these pet snakes and they kill a person, Misasim be'esim shloisha, to kill that wild animal, you need 23 dayanim. Rabbi Lezer says it seems to be that because these are known wild animals, you don't need a whole bezdin to kill. Kol hakoidim lahargim zacha. Whoever decides to kill, then good for him. In other words, you don't need to sit these animals into a court case. Rabbi Kiva disagrees. He says in order to kill these animals, misasim be'esim shloisha, you need 23 dayanim. Mishnah continues, Ein donin lo yas a shevet, v'lo yas nevi sheker, v'lo yas a kohen gadol, elo al pi bezdin shivim echad. To decide if you want to wipe out a shevet because they did avodah zarah, or most of them, or navi sheker, or you want a false prophet, or a kohen gadol, you need, in order to them to be judged, you need 71, the top Bezdin, which these 71 people, as you know, had an office in the Beis Hamikdash in the Ezras Yisrael. So it wasn't just there was 171 group of Supreme Court that existed, and that they existed with their offices in the Beis Hamikdash. But at 23 Dayanim existed in every shevet, sometimes in every city. Klal Yisrael does not go out to war, to a permissible war, once after Yeshua conquered Israel. So now you want to have a permissible war where we're trying to expand, not what we're trying to protect Eretz Yisrael because we were attacked, but actually, let's say we want to go attack someone else, another country, because we want to take over that country. So then the only one that could decide that is the Supreme Court of 71. Ein Masifin al Ha'ir v'al Azars el Pi Bezdin Shishim. If you want to increase the size of Jerusalem, because as you know, Jerusalem has Kedusha to it, and the Beis Hamikdash has Kedusha to it, in order to increase that size, you need the 71 Bezdin. You need the 71. Ein Oisrin Sanhedrinis L'Shavatim el Pi Bezdin Shishim Echad. You don't make small Sanhedrin for a Shevet, only on the instructions of 70 of the 71. Now that's what we're gonna say, because they used to put as a small mini 23 group in every city, and so they have to be appointed by the Supreme Court. That's what it means. They have to be appointed by the Supreme Court. We don't decide to wipe out a whole city in Israel that did avodah zarah, only if the decision is made through the 71. And now once we mention the Ir Nidachas, if we're going to make an Ir Nidachas, we don't make it at the edge of Israel, because as you see, we always like to keep the border clean, so they don't, line like you saw by Hezbollah. We want to just keep them behind that river. So, even if we decide to wipe out a whole city, if that city is on the border of Israel, between border of Israel and another country, we will not make that city into an Iranidachas, because to leave that whole place desolate, to wipe out a city and leave it desolate, that's an invitation for our enemies to take up positions near the border. V'loy shalosh, you don't make three Ir Nidachas one next to each other. You can make one or two next to each other, one of course, but two connected. Sanhedrin Gedola, the Sanhedrin Gedola, the big one, as we said, the Mishnah was composed of 71 people. And then the smaller Bezdin was 23. How do you know the big Bezdin was 71? Shenema, because the pasuk says Moshe Rabbeinu said, "I don't want to rule Klal Yisrael; it's too much for me." So God said, "I'm going to help you." Esra li shivim ish miziknei Yisrael. U'Moshe al gabeim. And so God said, get me 70 people and they'll help you be the judges. And Moshe was included and was added on top of those 70. So we see the total number is 71. Rabbi Yehuda says, Shivim, there was only 70 in the Supreme Court, not 71. How do you know the small bezdin? Again, the 23 was used for capital punishment. Let's say somebody was Machal Shabbos, so you need 23 to put him to death. How do you know that's the size? Shenema v'shaftu eida v'tzilu eida. So the Torah tells us, eida shefetes ve'eida matzeles. Some part of bezdin will find somebody guilty, and some part of bezdin will find somebody matzeles, find them innocent. Now, Ada is the language of Ada mean the number 10. Harekan Esram. You have 10, you have 20, because it's Pasuk says 10 and 10 is 20. How do you know that the word Ada means Asara? The 10 Meraglim that were saying bad about Eretz Yisrael in the Chumash is called Ada. So we see the number 10 is the word Ada. So when the Torah tells us about a judgment of trying to decide to kill somebody, the Torah indicates there has to be 20. Some 10 will find them guilty, 10 maybe will find them innocent. How do you know to add another 3? The Torah tells you, don't follow the majority when they find somebody guilty. So I hear from that you when they find them innocent, you go after the majority. So why does the Torah have to tell you to go after the majority? Why does the Torah have to tell you? Of course, I understand by derivation you would go after the majority. Answers the Mishnah, because the Chumash is telling you, when you're finding somebody guilty is not the same as when you find somebody innocent. To find somebody innocent that you don't put him to death, the winning number is that he has to have one judge more than the ones that find him guilty. The ones that, if you're making somebody guilty, then you need al pishnayim. 2 judges have to find him guilty. So 2 over 2 has to be the winning number, like you always have to win by 2 in order to put him to death. We go to Amabeis, the Ein Bezdin Shakel, and since you can't have, so now I hear 22, the Ein Bezdin Shakel, but you never have an even number. Shakel means you never have an even number for a Bezdin. So you add another person, and therefore you have the total number of 23. So the Mishnah just outlines the source of the concept of capital punishment Bezdin. That court size is 23. The Kama Yeheba Teru Sanhedrin. How big should the city be till that you put in a Sanhedrin? Pashtus that you put in a Sanhedrin of 23 people. Meya ve'esrim. If the city has 120 people, then you put a Sanhedrin Ketana into that city. 23. 230. Keneged Asari. So that is a multiple of 10. In other words, the Bezdin is 23. So the population side should be a minimum of 230. So that the Bezdin is 10% of the people size. So now everything will be discussed in the Gemara. Finally, we get to the Gemara. So the Mishnah said, Dine Mamanis B'Shloisha, right? The Mishnah started off, Dine Mamanis B'Shloisha, and then the Mishnah says, Gzeilus V'Chavolos B'Shloisha. So the first interpretation that we're going to learn for this Gemara is that Mamanis is with 3 people, and Gzeilus V'Chavolos B'Shloisha. So what is the meaning of this Mishnah? Atu Gzeilus V'Chavolos Lav Dine Mamanis. The concept of theft and damages are not civil courts. So why does the Mishnah say Dine Mamanis is 3 and Gzeilus Chavolos is 3? It's the same idea. Amar Ababo, you're right. Mohen Ketani. The Mishnah is explaining itself. Dine Mamanis B'Shloisha. Mohen Dine Mamanis. What is a civil case? Gzeilus V'Chavolos. That's the concept of Gzeilus and Chavolos, stealing and damages. Avol Haidah V'Havois Loy. But according to the Gemara now, If someone admits that he borrowed money or an actual loan and then he denies it, loy, you don't need three people. So that's not what the Mishnah is talking about. So we're going to see more about that. Now, if the Mishnah utzricha, why does the Mishnah have to say dinim mamanis is shloisha, which means gzelis vachavilas? So the Mishnah is the Gemara says tzricha. The itana dinim mamas. If we just say dinim mamanas have a mina fila haidos valvois, that the word dinim mamas is talking about loans. Tana gzelis vachavilas. So the Mishnah expresses itself better, and the Mishnah tells you that it means gzelis vachavolis. The itan gzelis v'chavalis, if the Mishnah would say that gzelis v'chavalis, like tani dinim amaris, have a mina, I would think that who adin dafilo haidos v'alvois, even alone needs three people. The high dikton gzelis v'chavalis, ikka gimel deksive b'gzelis v'chavalis ksive. The ksiv v'nikra balabayis hu elahim v'chavalis mali chaval b'gufoy mali chaval b'mayna. So the Mishnah had to be very clear, according to Rabbi Bo, that it's not talking about loans. It's only talking about theft and damages. Because if the Mishnah would just say one word, theft and damages, I would think maybe Mishnah means also loans. If the Mishnah said just dinei mamanis, I would think for sure the Mishnah meant loans included. So the Mishnah is clear, not talking about loans, according to. And the reason why the Mishnah decides to say gzelos v'chavolos, because I would think that the main source that you need three people was said by gzelos, and chavolos doesn't matter if you're damaging. So let's finish up another half a minute. Ella Tana, we learned in a brisa. The brisa is always explaining what the Mishnah means, and the brisa says this is the meaning of what the Mishnah meant. Ma hein dine mamanis. What does it mean? A judgment of monetary judgments. Gezelis v'chavalos. Mishnah means theft and damages. Avol haidois valvois, but a loan, a case, loy doesn't need three. So frag the Gemara. So the Gemara does now, and this will end right over here. Will end. Ulamai. What does that mean? What did you just mean? That a loan case doesn't need three dayanim? If you don't need three, Rabbi Bo himself said, that if there are two people doing two judges for a loan case, they're disqualified. So Rabbi Bo himself said, for a regular loan case, you need three. Answers Rabbi Bo, that's why it's not part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah is not discussing loans. Loans is a new item for itself that you don't need mumchem. Anybody who went to yeshiva and knows Choshen Mishpat could be a dayan for a loan case, because that comes up often. And the rabbis did not want to close out the capital markets if you always need a mumchem, a special type of licensed judge to judge a loan case. So therefore, loan cases do not need the specialized judge called mumchen, or as we said, the mumchen means smuchen. But everything else in the Mishnah, which doesn't come up so often, like damages and chavilas and gzelis, there you need mumchen, which is smuchen, and that's what our Mishnah is talking about. That you need three smuchen. That's ending this daf explaining the Mishnah, the first part of the Mishnah.